It's exciting to see Netflix fully embracing fantasy K-dramas in 2026, and honestly, this lineup feels bold, creative, and a little unpredictable in a good way. From virtual romance to supernatural powers and cursed palaces, these 5 upcoming dramas promise very different experiences, and I can already tell fans are going to be divided over which one deserves the most hype. So as we go through each title, think about this. Which concept would you actually binge first? And which one feels the most original to you? Boyfriend on Demand. Let's start with Boyfriend on Demand, because this one is arriving first and already getting attention. The story follows Seo Mi-rae, a burned-out webtoon producer who escapes her exhausting reality by subscribing to a virtual dating simulation. Inside this program, she meets perfectly designed partners who say all the right things and make her feel seen. But in real life, she has to deal with a cold, complicated colleague who slowly begins to affect her emotions. What makes this concept so interesting is how realistic it feels in 2026. Technology is already shaping how we date and connect. So the idea of choosing a perfect virtual boyfriend versus navigating messy real-world feelings feels incredibly relevant. Is love about comfort and control, or unpredictability and growth? That's the emotional core I'm curious about. Personally, I think this drama could spark big discussions about digital intimacy. Would you choose a flawless virtual partner over someone imperfect but real? I can already imagine fans debating which male lead they prefer, and whether Mi-rae should follow logic or emotion. Next is The WONDERfools, and this one shifts into action fantasy territory. Set in 1999, it follows Yoon Chae-mi and her neighbors, who suddenly gain supernatural powers after a mysterious incident. The twist? Their abilities aren't polished or fully controlled. While trying to understand their new powers, they become involved in a series of disappearances threatening their town. I love the late 90s setting because it adds nostalgia and limits technology. Without smartphones and instant information, solving mysteries feels more intense and personal. And imperfect powers mean mistakes, humor, and growth. This feels like a drama that could balance action with strong character chemistry. It's not just about fighting evil, it's about ordinary people figuring out responsibility. If you suddenly had powers, would you use them to protect others? Or would you be too afraid of the consequences? The East Palace. For those who prefer darker fantasy, the East Palace might be the standout. This historical drama follows a spirit hunter and a court lady who can hear ghosts as they investigate a curse haunting the Crown Prince's palace. Secret royal orders, hidden truths, and dangerous supernatural forces all collide inside the palace walls. Historical settings already carry tension, but adding spirits and curses raises the stakes. The mix of political intrigue and horror elements could create a powerful atmosphere. I'm especially interested in how deeply the story explores the spiritual world. Will it lean more toward mystery or full supernatural horror? There's something compelling about palace dramas where secrets threaten an entire kingdom. It makes the supernatural feel larger than just personal fear. It becomes a national crisis. If done well, this could be visually stunning and emotionally intense. Dead End Job feels like the most unsettling premise. It follows a young man who accepts an extremely high-paying part-time job from a mysterious agency. At first, it seems like a lucky break, but strange and terrifying events soon reveal a dark secret behind the company. Meanwhile, his sibling and an investigator try to uncover the truth. This concept hits a modern nerve. Who hasn't been tempted by an offer that seems too good to be true? Turning workplace desperation into supernatural horror is clever and relatable. The fear here isn't just ghosts, it's exploitation and hidden systems. I think this drama could become a surprise hit if the mystery unfolds slowly and the emotional stakes remain strong. The family element adds depth beyond simple scares. Would you risk taking a suspicious job if you really needed money? That moral tension is what makes this story powerful. Take Charge of My Heart. Finally, we have Take Charge of My Heart, which might be the most playful concept of the lineup. The story centers on a chaebol heir with an artificial heart running out of battery and a woman whose body conducts electricity and can recharge him. Their unusual condition ties them together in both practical and emotional ways. On the surface, it sounds quirky and comedic, but underneath, There's an interesting metaphor about dependency in relationships. If someone literally needs you to survive, how does that affect love? Does it create closeness or pressure? I think this one has the potential to be a charming rom-com with a fantasy twist. If the chemistry works and the emotional beats land, it could become a fan favorite. Sometimes the most unusual ideas create the most memorable stories. Looking at all 5 dramas together, Netflix clearly isn't playing it safe in 2026. Each project approaches fantasy differently: technology, superpowers, folklore, horror, and sci-fi romance. And that variety is what makes the lineup exciting. So now I want to know your thoughts. Which drama are you most excited for? Are you drawn to digital romance, small-town superheroes, palace curses, corporate horror, or electrically charged love? Let's talk about your rankings and predictions, because something tells me these fantasy dramas are going to dominate K-drama conversations all year long.